Russia storming Avdiivka with very large forces.
Here's a summary of the article.
Russia is once again escalating its months-long effort to capture Avdiivka and is now storming the front lines in all directions using very large forces, its mayor has said. Unfortunately, the enemy is pressing from all directions. They are storming with very large forces. Barabash said that Russian forces were mainly employing artillery, airstrikes, and infantry in the assault, because Russian tanks and armored vehicles could not pass on the soft ground. President Vladimir Putin last month was the first Russian official to claim that his forces had gained a foothold in the city. The last major victory on the front came from Russian forces last May with the capture of Bakhmut after months of costly fighting on both sides. Ukraine's army commander in charge of the region, Oleksandr Sysky, visited Ukrainian troops holding back Russian forces on Bakhmut's outskirts and warned of mounting Russian attacks. He said Russian forces were using kamikaze drones and electronic warfare alongside assault groups with artillery cover to break through Ukrainian defense lines outside Bakhmut.
This post received a score of 6,000, with an upvote ratio of 96%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
It seems inevitable that Avdiivka will fall in the relatively near future at this stage. Russian forces have been advancing steadily on a daily basis now after being unable to make any meaningful progress for months. The question now is whether Russia has any sort of capacity to keep up momentum when they take the city, and whether Ukraine has developed sufficient defensive lines to prevent Russia from making a sizable advance. Zaluzny said it would be around March, way back in December as the aid debate was starting. Seems correct.
As much as I'd like to think Ukraine laid a trap in Avdiivka, and they actually have all the artillery shells they need to capitalize on this opportunity, this doesn't sound great knowing that the U.S. Congress has blocked assistance for 4 to 5 months now.
U.S. Republicans.
Reagan would turn in his grave if he saw how the Republicans of today are undermining the global position of the USA.
Reagan would vomit at seeing how Republicans serve Putin. Back in the 80s, all our movie villains were Russian.
I think Reagan would have been played and controlled in precisely the same manner Trump has been if he was around and president today. Like Trump, he was known to just internalize and parrot the last thing that was said to him and was easily manipulated and controlled.
I think Reagan would be backing Ukraine. He had to deal with Russia and managed to negotiate nuclear arms reduction.
Reagan would be doing whatever his campaign backers told him to do.
You think Reagan would be doing whatever his campaign backers told him to do? 'Tis a silly thought experiment. Just look at G.W. Bush. He's not happy with Trump's politic. Wow, if only Putin's Republicans didn't keep voting down Ukrainian aid. You'd think the FBI would be having a field day with leads plus donations, considering how much Russian money flows through the Florida GOP to the rest of the country.
I agree with you, but also Europe can also do way better than the paltry aid it's been giving.
Europe's donated a bit more by pound of flesh. America's falling so far behind they might fall behind Canada for aid at this rate. Canada doesn't even have a functioning army, navy or air force.
Canada does have a functioning armed forces, just our, as in Canada, I am Canadian, readiness is pathetic. This is just because of decades of neglect. When my grandfather joined in 1966, Canada had 110,000 personnel, today it's just over 60,000.
Canada was charging rent on soldiers at $500 a month, over a decade ago, to share a room with 3 to 7 other people, like they were living in a Brampton basement. Canada has had no interest in recruitment or retention, compensation or even veteran affairs benefits. All 3 Canadian parties voted on reducing benefits to veterans. It's no wonder the Canadian military is derelict, between punishing their own personnel with their own incompetence and punishing their military with one of the worst military procurement systems in the world.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.